What if everything you've been told about winning is wrong? In a world obsessed with noise where everyone is fighting to be seen, the real power often belongs to the ones you never notice, at least not at first. The loudest voices might grab your attention for a moment, but have you ever wondered why the most unstoppable people rarely announce themselves? There's a reason the most dominant players in any field don't waste time chasing applause. Their results do the talking, and by the time the world finally notices, it's already too late for the competition to catch up. Think about it, every market, every industry, every arena is filled with people scrambling for recognition, desperate to prove themselves, constantly measuring their worth by how many eyes are watching. But the ones who truly change the game, they're building in silence, far away from the spotlight, stacking brick after brick while everyone else is busy performing for the crowd. Their victories don't start with a viral moment or a trending post. They begin in the quiet, in the hours no one else sees, in the relentless discipline that never asks for permission or validation. So here's the question. What if the real winners are the ones you never see coming? What if the most dangerous competitor isn't the one making the most noise, but the one who's too focused on building a world the rest can't even survive in? There's a kind of power that doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove. It just keeps moving quietly, methodically, until the results are so undeniable that even the loudest critics are forced to pay attention. This isn't about being overlooked. It's about being uncatchable. It's about understanding that victory doesn't start when the world applauds you. It starts long before, in the silence, in the discipline, in the choices you make when no one is watching. The real game isn't played in public. It's won in private by those who are willing to do the work that others avoid, to master the habits that others ignore, and to build a foundation so strong that no amount of noise can shake it. So, before you worry about outshining your competition, ask yourself, are you willing to win in silence long before anyone else even knows your name? Because in the end, the world only notices what it can't ignore, and the most unstoppable results are always born in the quiet. Every empire that ever stood the test of time was built on a foundation no one saw. The world loves to celebrate the finished product, the towering skyscraper, the champion on the podium, the entrepreneur who seems to appear out of nowhere. But what they never see, what they never talk about, is the silent work that happens in the shadows. The truth is, the most important victories are won long before the spotlight ever finds you. They're won in the early mornings when the world is still asleep, in the late nights when everyone else has already given up, and in the quiet moments when you choose discipline over distraction. This is where the real separation begins. Not in the noise, not in the applause, but in the silence. It's in those hours when you're alone with your thoughts, when there's no one to impress and no one to judge, that you decide who you're going to become. Most people never make it past this stage. They crave validation, they need recognition, and they want proof that their efforts matter. But the ones who truly rise above, the ones who become impossible to ignore, are the ones who learn to thrive in the quiet. They understand that the foundation is everything, and that without it nothing else lasts. Discipline is the silent architect of every lasting achievement. It's the force that keeps you moving when motivation fades, the voice that tells you to keep going when no one is watching, and the standard you hold yourself to even when the world isn't paying attention. While others are distracted by what's trending, you're focused on what's timeless. While they chase the next big thing, you're mastering the basics, refining your process, and building habits that will outlast any fad or phase. But here's the part most people miss. The foundation isn't just about hard work, it's about precision. It's about making the right choices day after day, even when those choices seem invisible to everyone else. It's about saying no to shortcuts, no to distractions, and no to anything that doesn't serve your mission. The silent foundation is built on integrity, the kind that doesn't bend under pressure, the kind that doesn't crumble when things get tough. It's about becoming the kind of person who can be trusted with success because you've already proven you can handle the struggle. And while the world is busy measuring results, you're measuring your standards. You're not just building skills, you're building character. You're not just stacking wins, you're stacking principles. This is the work that no one claps for, the grind that never makes headlines, but it's the only work that matters in the end. Because when the storms come, and they always do, it's the silent foundation that keeps you standing. It's the discipline, the focus, and the internal standards that separate those who last from those who fade away. So, if you want to build something that can't be shaken, start in the silence. Build your foundation where no one can see it, and let your discipline become the blueprint for everything that follows. Because the world will only ever see the results, but you'll know the truth. The real victory began long before anyone was watching. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of competition. Everywhere you look, someone is watching what others are doing, measuring their progress against someone else's highlight reel, and letting the moves of their rivals dictate their own next step. But here's the truth that most people never realize. The real battle isn't out there. It's not about outsmarting, outworking, or outshining the person next to you. The real game is internal. The only competition that matters is the one you have with yourself. When you spend your energy tracking your rivals, you're already playing from behind. You're reacting, not creating. You're letting someone else's pace set your own, and in doing so, you lose the one thing that makes you unstoppable: your unique process. The most dangerous competitor in any field isn't the one who's obsessed with the competition. It's the one who's obsessed with their own growth, their own habits, and their own standards. Because while everyone else is busy looking sideways, they're looking straight ahead, locked in on their own path. This is where true mastery begins. It's in the daily choices you make when no one is watching. It's in the way you handle discomfort, the way you respond to setbacks, and the way you keep moving forward even when the crowd stops cheering. Most people crumble when the applause fades. They lose momentum when the recognition dries up. But the ones who are truly built to last are the ones who don't need external validation to keep going. Their drive comes from within, fueled by a relentless desire to outdo their own best, to refine their own process, and to become a better version of themselves every single day. Think about the habits you keep when no one is holding you accountable, the focus you maintain when distractions are everywhere, the integrity you show when shortcuts are tempting and no one would ever know if you took the easy way out. These are the moments that define you. These are the invisible battles that separate the average from the elite. Because while your competition is busy studying you, you're studying the process. While they're chasing attention, you're refining your craft. While they're guessing, you're preparing. And while they're reacting, you're predicting. The truth is, you win not by doing more than everyone else, but by doing what matters longer, with more clarity, and without needing a spotlight to do it. The habits you build in private become the results you display in public. The choices you make in silence become the victories that everyone else calls luck. But you know better. You know that every step forward was earned, not given. Every breakthrough was the result of 1,000 small decisions that no one else saw. So stop watching the competition. Stop letting their moves dictate your own. The real battlefield is in your mind, in your discipline, and in your ability to keep showing up for yourself day after day, regardless of who's watching. Because the only race that matters is the one against your own potential. And when you commit to outplaying your former self, you become the kind of competitor that no one else can touch. The kind that doesn't just win the game, but redefines it entirely. In a world obsessed with instant results and viral moments, it's easy to believe that performance is everything. Social media is flooded with highlight reels, flashes of brilliance, overnight success stories, and the illusion that greatness is just one big break away. But the truth is, what you see on the surface is only a fraction of the story. The real power, the kind that lasts, is never found in a single performance. It's built in the process, quiet, repetitive, and often invisible to everyone but you. Most people chase attention. They want the applause, the recognition, the validation that comes from being seen. They measure their worth by likes, views, and fleeting moments of fame. But here's the secret the elite understand: attention fades, but process compounds. The ones who truly separate themselves aren't the ones who burn the brightest for a moment. They're the ones who keep showing up day after day, refining their craft long after the crowd has moved on. Think about the difference between someone who's always looking for the next big opportunity and someone who's obsessed with getting better at what they do. The first is always chasing, always reacting, always hopping for a shortcut to the top. The second is building something permanent. They know that mastery isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most over and over until it becomes second nature. They don't need the world to notice every step, they just need to take the right steps consistently until the results become impossible to ignore. This is the power of process. It's the discipline to keep refining your systems even when no one is watching. It's the patience to stick with what works even when it feels boring or repetitive. It's the humility to focus on the fundamentals, knowing that the basics done well will always outperform flashy tactics that burn out quickly. While others are distracted by the need to be seen, you're building a foundation that can't be shaken. While they're chasing the next trend, you're perfecting the timeless skills that will carry you through any storm. And here's what most people miss: the process isn't glamorous. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic breakthroughs. It's about the small daily actions that add up over time. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it, pushing through when progress is slow, and trusting that every repetition is making you stronger, sharper, and more prepared for whatever comes next. The process is where you build resilience, where you develop the habits that will carry you through setbacks, and where you separate yourself from everyone who's only in it for the quick win. Performance might get you noticed, but process is what makes you unstoppable. The world will always be drawn to the flashiest player, the loudest voice, the most dramatic story. But when the dust settles, it's the ones who built their success on a rock-solid process who are still standing. They don't need to chase attention because their results speak for themselves. They don't need to prove anything because their consistency is proof enough. So if you want to build something that lasts, stop focusing on the performance. Start obsessing over the process. Make every day a chance to get better, every action a step toward mastery, and every setback an opportunity to refine your approach. Because in the end, it's not the one who shines the brightest who wins. It's the one who keeps building quietly and relentlessly until their work becomes impossible to ignore. Most people spend their entire lives playing by rules they never chose. They wake up each day and step onto a field designed by someone else, chasing goals that were handed to them, not created by them. It's a silent trap, one that keeps even the most talented individuals stuck in cycles of frustration and disappointment. They measure their progress by someone else's scoreboard, compete in industries they don't respect, and pursue dreams that never truly belong to them. And when things don't work out, they wonder why success feels so far away, so out of reach. But here's the truth: you can't win a game you didn't define. The most powerful move you'll ever make is to step back and ask yourself, whose game am I really playing? Are you chasing a version of success that was sold to you by society, by your peers, by the endless scroll of social media? Or are you bold enough to design your own standards, your own systems, and your own definition of victory? Because the moment you take ownership of your path, everything changes. You stop reacting to the world and start shaping it. Defining your own game means setting the rules that play to your strengths, not your weaknesses. It means building systems that fit your unique rhythm, your values, and your vision, not just copying what worked for someone else. The world is full of people who are busy, but very few who are truly effective. The difference: the effective ones have clarity, they know exactly what matters to them, and they refuse to be distracted by anything that doesn't serve their mission. They don't waste energy trying to fit in or keep up. Instead, they double down on what makes them different, and that difference becomes their advantage. When you define your own game, you become immune to the noise. The opinions, the trends, the constant pressure to conform, they all fade into the background. You're no longer swayed by the latest tactic or the loudest voice. You're guided by your own standards, your own systems, and your own sense of purpose. This is where true confidence comes from, not from external validation, but from the quiet certainty that you're building something real, something that can't be taken away by a change in the market or a shift in public opinion. But this path isn't easy. It requires courage to walk away from the crowd, to say no to opportunities that don't align with your vision, and to keep building even when no one understands what you're doing. It means accepting that you might be misunderstood, underestimated, or even criticized for refusing to play by the old rules. But that's the price of true freedom. Because once you lock in your own standards, there's no man alive who can take from you what you've built into your identity. Your systems become your shield, your standards become your compass, and your process becomes your proof. While others are busy chasing the next big thing, you're quietly mastering the fundamentals that will outlast every trend. While they're distracted by the scoreboard, you're focused on the field, on the work, the habits, and the relentless pursuit of your own definition of excellence. So if you want to win, stop playing someone else's game. Define your own. Build your own rules, your own systems, and your own standards. Because the only way to become truly unstoppable is to compete in a game where you set the terms, and where victory is measured not by applause but by alignment with your deepest values. In the end, the world will always try to pull you into its chaos, but the ones who rise above are those who have the courage to build a world of their own. And when you do that, you don't just win, you become the standard everyone else tries to reach. There's a myth that dominates every competitive field: the idea that raw strength, talent, or sheer willpower is what separates the winners from the rest. You see it everywhere: the glorification of hustle, the obsession with grinding harder, the belief that if you just push more, you'll eventually break through. But if you look closely at those who truly dominate, you'll notice something different. The ones who last, the ones who build legacies, aren't always the loudest or the strongest. They're the most strategic. They understand that strength fades, but strategy endures. Raw power can get you noticed, but it rarely keeps you on top. The world is full of people who burned bright for a moment, only to disappear when the pressure mounted or the spotlight shifted. Why? Because they relied on bursts of energy, on moments of inspiration, on the hope that their talent alone would carry them through. But talent is just the starting line. What really matters is how you use it, how you build systems around it, how you refine it, and how you deploy it with precision day after day, long after the initial excitement has worn off. Strategy is what turns potential into permanence. It's the quiet force that keeps you moving forward when motivation dies. It's the discipline to stick to your plan even when it feels like nothing is working. It's the ability to see beyond the immediate win and focus on the long game, to make decisions that compound over time instead of chasing quick hits that fade as fast as they arrive. The most successful people aren't the ones who do the most, they're the ones who do what matters most, with relentless consistency and clarity. This is where quiet consistency becomes your greatest weapon. While others are chasing the next big break, you're building habits that don't need luck. While they're waiting for the perfect moment, you're showing up with structure, executing your plan regardless of how you feel. Your process doesn't ask for motivation. It doesn't care about your mood. It simply demands execution every single day. And that's what makes you unbreakable, not the ability to go harder than everyone else, but the ability to keep going when everyone else has already stopped. The competition will always believe that strength wins. They'll double down on effort, on speed, on trying to outwork everyone in the room. But the truth is, effort without direction is just wasted energy. The ones who rise above are those who combine effort with intention, who use strategy as their compass and discipline as their engine. They don't get rattled by setbacks or distracted by noise. They trust their process, knowing that every repetition is sharpening their edge, every small win is stacking up, and every day of quiet work is widening the gap between them and everyone else. And here's the part that most people never see. The real separation doesn't happen in the moments of glory. It happens in the moments of doubt, in the days when nothing seems to be working and you keep building anyway. It's in the decision to keep refining your craft when no one is watching, to keep showing up when the results are slow, and to keep executing your plan with ruthless precision, even when the world is telling you to pivot or give up. That's where the game is truly won. So let others compete for surface wins. Let them chase the spotlight, the applause, the fleeting moments of recognition. You're here to master the foundation, to build something so solid that no amount of pressure can shake it. Because in the end, it's not the strongest who survive, it's the most strategic. The ones who understand that quiet consistency, executed with discipline and intention, will always outlast any burst of brilliance that burns out. And when the dust settles, it's your strategy, your systems, and your unshakable process that will stand as proof that you were never just playing the game, you were rewriting the rules. In a world that never stops demanding your attention, the ability to control your focus is more valuable than ever. Most people don't realize it, but attention is a currency, and just like money, it can be spent recklessly or invested wisely. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck often comes down to how they manage this invisible resource. The most dangerous player in any room isn't the one who reacts to every distraction or chases every shiny object. It's the one who has mastered their emotional economy, who knows exactly where to invest their focus, and who refuses to let the noise of the world dictate their direction. Think about how easy it is to get pulled off course. Notifications, opinions, trends, and endless streams of information are all fighting for a piece of your mind. Most people don't even notice how much energy they lose to things that don't matter. They get rattled when results are slow, distracted when the noise is loud, and drawn into battles that have nothing to do with their mission. But the ones who truly separate themselves are the ones who have learned to filter their world with intention. They guard their mornings, protect their energy, and eliminate anything that doesn't serve their purpose. This is the essence of emotional economy, understanding that not every reaction deserves your attention and not every problem is yours to solve. The man who controls his attention controls his outcome. While others panic at setbacks or get swept up in the latest controversy, you remain calm, steady, and unshakable. You've trained yourself to find peace under pressure, to stay focused when chaos erupts, and to keep moving forward even when the world is trying to pull you in 100 different directions. It's not that life is easier for you, it's that your mind is calmer than the chaos around you. You don't respond to every critic, you don't engage with every comment, and you don't need to defend a strategy that already works. Your results will always speak louder than the noise. This is a level of discipline that most people never reach because it requires letting go of the need for constant validation. It means being okay with being misunderstood, with being underestimated, and with being invisible while you build something that can't be ignored. The truth is, distraction is the real poverty. Most of your competition isn't broken money, they're broken clarity, broken discipline, broken emotional regulation. They spend their attention everywhere, hoping something will stick while you invest yours with precision. You know that every moment spent on the wrong thing is a moment stolen from your mission. So you become ruthless with your focus, generous only with your work, and deliberate with every action you take. This is how you build focused capital. You no longer jump from input to input, chasing the next big thing. Instead, you filter your world, choosing only what aligns with your vision. You protect your mornings, set boundaries around your time, and refuse to let anyone else dictate your priorities. The man who controls his focus controls his future, and you've made it your mission to become unshakable in this regard. So let others get loud. Let them chase every trend, react to every headline, and burn out trying to keep up. You're too busy building a fortress of focus, a system of habits, and a standard of discipline that can't be shaken by the noise. Because when the wave of distraction passes, and it always does, you'll still be standing stronger and more prepared than ever. Not because you reacted, but because you remained. You remained loyal to your vision, faithful to your process, and unshakable in your principles. That's the real edge, and it's one your competition will never see coming. Only. If there's one force in the world that quietly separates the extraordinary from the average, it's consistency. Not the kind that's flashy or celebrated, but the kind that happens in the background, day after day, stacking invisible wins that eventually become impossible to ignore. Most people underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. They want the big breakthrough, the dramatic transformation, the overnight success. But the truth is, every legacy, every empire, every unbreakable reputation is built on the compounding effect of consistency. Think about it, the most respected athletes, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most admired creators didn't get there by doing something amazing once. They got there by doing the right things over and over, long after the excitement faded and the crowd stopped cheering. Consistency is the silent engine that turns effort into excellence. It's the reason why some people seem to rise effortlessly while others struggle to make progress. The difference isn't talent or luck, it's the willingness to keep showing up, to keep refining, to keep building even when no one is watching. This is where the real separation happens. While others are constantly searching for new tactics, new shortcuts, or new sources of motivation, you're focused on perfecting your process. You understand that execution isn't about variety, it's about repeatable precision. Every day you show up, you're casting another vote for the person you want to become. Every action, no matter how small, is a brick in the wall that will eventually become your fortress. And while the world is busy chasing novelty, you're quietly compounding progress, turning discipline into momentum and momentum into mastery. The compounding effect of consistency isn't always obvious in the beginning. In fact, it often feels like nothing is happening. The results are slow, the progress is invisible, and the temptation to quit is always lurking. But this is where most people give up right before the breakthrough. They get bored, they get impatient, and they abandon the process just as the compounding effect is about to kick in. But you know better. You know that every day you stick to your standards, every time you execute your plan, you're widening the gap between you and everyone else. The separation doesn't happen in one dramatic moment, it happens in the hundreds of tiny decisions made with discipline and intention. Legacy isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in the dark, in the hours when no one is watching, in the choices that never make headlines. The respect you earn, the leverage you gain, the reputation you build, all of it is the result of consistency compounding over time. And the longer you stay committed, the more unstoppable you become. Because while others are busy explaining why they can't, you're quietly proving that you can. While they're waiting for the perfect moment, you're creating momentum with every action you take. This is the secret that most people never discover. They think success is about one big move, one lucky break, one moment of brilliance. But the truth is, it's about showing up when it's boring, pushing through when it's hard, and refusing to let your standards slip no matter what. Consistency is the ultimate advantage because it's the one thing that compounds quietly, relentlessly, and without fail. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't need applause. It just keeps stacking results until the gap is too wide for anyone else to cross. So if you want to build something that lasts, make consistency your superpower. Let every day be a vote for your future self. Let every action, no matter how small, be a step toward mastery. Because in the end, it's not the loudest, the fastest, or the most talented who win. It's the ones who keep showing up, keep building, and keep compounding progress until their work becomes undeniable. That's the real legacy, and it's one that can never be taken away. There's a point in every journey where the pursuit of success transforms into something deeper, a shift from chasing wins to becoming the kind of person who can't be shaken by circumstance. This is the stage where you stop measuring yourself by external results and start building an identity that's rooted in unbreakable standards. Becoming unshakable isn't about being perfect or never facing setbacks. It's about developing a level of internal strength and clarity that no amount of pressure, criticism, or chaos can disrupt. Most people live at the mercy of their environment. When things are going well, they feel confident. When the results slow down, their motivation crumbles. They ride the highs and lows of every outcome, never realizing that true power comes from within. The unshakable don't depend on applause or validation. Their sense of worth isn't tied to the scoreboard or the opinions of others. Instead, they operate from a place of deep alignment with their mission, their values, and their process. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's forged in the moments when you choose discipline over comfort, when you keep moving forward even as the world doubts you, and when you refuse to let setbacks define your story. The unshakable are those who have made peace with discomfort. They understand that mastery is often boring, that growth is rarely glamorous, and that the real work happens in the shadows, far from the noise of the crowd. They don't need to be seen to keep building. Their motivation is internal, fueled by a vision that's bigger than any single win or loss. What sets the unshakable apart is their ability to hold the line when others fold. When the pressure rises, they don't flinch. When the spotlight fades, they don't disappear. When the results are slow, they don't abandon the process. Instead, they double down on their standards, trusting that the foundation they've built will carry them through any storm. This is the kind of resilience that can't be faked or fast-tracked. It's earned through years of showing up, through thousands of small decisions that no one else sees, and through a relentless commitment to becoming the best version of themselves. The world will always try to test your resolve. There will be critics, setbacks, and moments when quitting seems easier than continuing. But the unshakable don't bend to the pressure. They don't let fear dictate their actions or let doubt creep into their process. They know that every challenge is an opportunity to reinforce their foundation, to prove to themselves that they can withstand whatever comes their way. And with every test, they become stronger, more focused, and more certain of their path. Becoming unshakable means you stop playing the game for recognition and start playing it for transformation. You realize that the real victory isn't in the trophy or the title, it's in the person you become along the way. It's in the habits you build, the standards you refuse to lower, and the process you trust even when the results are slow to show. The unshakable don't just win, they redefine what winning means. They set a new standard, one that's measured not by applause but by alignment with their deepest values. So if you want to become truly unstoppable, focus on building an identity that can't be shaken by circumstance. Let your standards be your anchor, your process be your guide, and your vision be the fuel that keeps you moving forward. Because in the end, the world may never fully understand your journey, but your results will be impossible to ignore. And when you become unshakable, you don't just outlast the competition, you become the standard that everyone else tries to reach. So after all the noise fades and the dust settles, what truly remains? It's not the fleeting applause, the viral moments, or the temporary wins that everyone chases. What endures is the legacy you've built in silence, the undeniable proof that comes from years of relentless discipline, unwavering standards, and a process so refined that it becomes a part of who you are. The world may never fully understand the depth of your journey, but your results will speak in a language that can't be ignored. The truth is, most people will spend their lives trying to be seen, desperate for validation and hungry for recognition. They'll measure their worth by how many people are watching, how many likes they get, or how loudly their name is mentioned. But you know better. You've learned that the real game isn't about being noticed, it's about being undeniable. It's about building something so solid, so consistent, and so true to your values that no amount of noise can shake it. You don't need to announce your arrival. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Your work, your habits, and your results do all the talking. This is the quiet power of those who master the process. While others are busy chasing trends, you're building timeless systems. While they're distracted by the scoreboard, you're focused on the field, on the daily actions, the invisible choices, and the standards you refuse to lower. You understand that every day is a new opportunity to cast a vote for the person you want to become, and every action, no matter how small, compounds into a legacy that outlasts any single moment of recognition. And here's the most powerful truth of all. The world only notices what it can't ignore. When you become so consistent, so precise, and so aligned with your mission that your presence becomes a statement, you no longer have to fight for attention. You become the standard. You become the model that others try to imitate, the blueprint that competitors study, and the example that inspires those who are ready to rise above the noise. But imitation can only go so far. No one can replicate the process you built in silence, the discipline you forged in isolation, or the identity you shaped through years of quiet work. Let others compete for surface wins. Let them chase the spotlight, the applause, and the quick hits that fade as fast as they arrive. You're here to build something permanent. You're here to master the foundation, to own the structure, and to create a legacy that stands long after the trends have passed. The man who owns the foundation owns the future, and you've proven that true victory begins in the silence, long before the world ever applauds. So as you move forward, remember this: you don't need to be better than everyone else. You need to be so specific, so strategic, and so unshakably aligned with your mission that no one can even compete where you operate. Be so refined in your space that imitation becomes impossible. Let your process be your voice, your standards be your separation, and your results be your proof. Because in the end, the world may never understand your journey, but they will never be able to ignore what you've built. This is the real win, the kind that doesn't just last for a season but for a lifetime. The kind that turns your name into a signal for excellence, your habits into a legacy, and your silence into the loudest statement of all. So keep building, keep refining, and keep moving forward with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that the game was never about being seen. It was always about being unshakable. And when you become unshakable, you don't just win, you become the standard that everyone else tries to reach. That's the legacy that endures, and that's the victory that can never be taken away.